If those of you that are a little bit new don't know what that means, around here we've been saying for about 20 years, if you will live like no one else later, you can live and give like no one else. They pay a price to win. You don't win if you don't pay a price. You know that, right? The great motivator Les Brown says people change their lives when they finally say, I've had it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've had it. Things are changing. That's the beginning. And then you pay a price. No one accidentally wins at anything. If you meet an old person who's been married for 53 years and you ask them how to be married, they always tell you, oh, son, you got to work at it. Sometimes she's not that lovable. That's what they'll tell you every time. None of them go, oh, it's Skittles and rainbows and unicorns, and it's all easy, and it's no trouble, and it's icing on the cake all the time. If they say that, they're lying. And anybody who's been married more than 10 minutes knows that. Now, I'm not saying marriage is horrible. It's not. I've got a wonderful marriage. I'm glad I'm married. I have a great wife. 37 years we've been going. So, I mean, this is all right. But the point is that anything you're going to win at, you're going to work at. No, you see these people with these great bodies. I mean, physical condition, unbelievable. They got an 8-pack. You know, they don't have a 6-pack. They got an 8-pack, man. I mean, they're jammed. You know what I'm talking about? Chiseled. That does not act. They don't accidentally get that. They don't wake up one morning and go, would you look at that? You know, that doesn't happen. No, there's a lot of hours and sweat and a lot of push-ups and push-backs. Push back from the table and push-ups in the gym, right? I mean, there's a price to be paid to win at something. You got to live like no one else, and then you get to look like, live like, and give like no one else. But there's a price to be paid to win. And that's where that live like no one else thing comes from. The Bible says it this way in Hebrews. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but it yields a harvest of righteousness. I did a 6-mile run this morning because I'm trying to get ready for this country music marathon, and I've challenged half marathon. I don't do marathons. I challenged my whole team to do it. There's 700 of us, and I'm trying to get at least half of them to do it. I got 275 to do it so far. I need to get another 75 to get us up to 350. I want 350 Ramsey runners in this race. There's 35,000 people, so we will disappear into that crowd. But I've run about 15 half marathons in my life, and I haven't run one in 5 years. I did 6 miles this morning. It was ugly. It was ugly. It was nasty. I mean, Dave waddling down the sidewalk, calling it running. Ugh, it was ugly. My times are awful. I hurt. It's awful. But I got all the way. It's not the race until April 28th, so I still got 10 weeks or whatever. I'll make it. It's all good. I'll get there. I did 6 this morning, and I'll be back up. You know, didn't take me long to get back up to 6. But, no discipline seems pleasant at the time. But it yields a harvest of righteousness. You got to live like no one else so that later you can live and give like no one else. Very few people wake up and say, how did I become a millionaire? I have no idea. No, when I talk to these millionaires on the Millionaire Theme Hour, they can tell you exactly what they did. Did you use debt? No. Did you inherit it? No. What'd you do? I worked my butt off for 20 years, and I saved and invested in my 401k, and I got my house paid off. That's what they usually tell me right there. If you listen to these Millionaire Theme Hours, that's what they say over and over and over again. What was your GPA? 3.0. You mean you're not a genius? No, I'm bright, but I'm not a genius. This is what they tell me all the time. Very steady, methodical process, and you become a millionaire. Live like no one else, so later you can live and give like no one else. Drive a car that no one else would drive, so that later you can drive a car that no one else can drive. Oh, it's fun. It's fun. I'm a boy. I like cars. I got me some cars. But I tell you what, when we were broke, you know what I drove? A guy loaned me a 1978 Cadillac with 478,000 actual miles on it. And the predominant color on this puppy was Bondo. The vinyl roof across the top was torn loose, and when I drove it, it filled up with air. It looked like a parachute with Bondo hanging off of it. I'm driving that thing down the road. The cops are following me, wondering what I'm doing in this end of town in that car. What are you doing over here, son? Well, I live over here. No, let me see your address. Yeah. Be driving that car. I mean, this is a $100 car, man. And it wasn't even mine. It was loaned to me. Man, I drove that car for 10 years, one 3-month period. Felt like 10 years. It was only 3 months. I still remember that thing, man. The Blue Goose, man. It was a blessing because I'd have been walking if I didn't have that. It smoked. It smoked like your mother's chimney, man. I mean, it smoked, you know. It was unbelievable. Filled up with smoke, looked like Cheech and Chong right along there, you know. I mean, it's unbelievable. I drove that car because I was never going to borrow money again. You know, I saved during that 3 months. We saved $1,000 and I bought a $1,000 car. I thought I was rich. I'm not borrowing money anymore, ever. I'm going to live like no one else so later can live like no one else. Drove that $1,000 car for about a year. We bought a $3,000 car, cash. We drove it for about 4 months, and I totaled it, got $4,000 for it. Had saved a little bit of money and bought a $6,000 car. You know what I drive now? Anything I want. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my butt. I paid a price to get here. Look, my cars are a very, very small percentage of my income and a very small percentage of what we give to ministries and to charities every year. And if you don't like the fact I've got a nice car, you can kiss my butt. I paid a price to get there. Live like no one else. Later, you can live and give like no one else. We travel, I'd stay in the Quality Inn. There were roaches in there doing ninja moves. I don't stay in places like that now, man. I don't stay in places like that. Well, you're a snob. No, I'm not. I got the dadgum money. I don't have to put up with that crap. Go in someplace and, man, I don't eat at the Golden Corral, y'all. I'm just telling you. But we ate at Sharon's restaurant for a long time. Sharon's really good with leftovers, I'll tell you that. We paid a price to win. You'll pay a price to win. Live like no one else. Check out this thing on YouTube, y'all. This is how it's done. There's no shortcut to any place that's worth going. You can do this. You live like no one else. Later, you can live and give like no one else.